Thank you for
Good
coming.
Thank you. It's my first time here in this particular council, so I'm just getting my bearings, and I just came in. So quickly, my name is Claudio Alegre, and I'm the CEO of Angel Home Care Services, a an agency pretty much helping families in the Dade County and Monroe area deal with caregiving issues that they need advice with. And so that's pretty much CEO just means I am doing more paperwork than I care to admit. Pretty much, I spend most of my time talking to families and solving problems on a daily basis. And then tech, of course, I have an interest in tech from a digital marketing background, which I hope to overlap into our day to day at the office on, from a brick and mortar standpoint. That is. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Fred, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I am Fred Bean. I am the founder and CEO of Rebel Travel Corporation and Hotelport. I'm also chairman of eDestin Access, and I also advise a number of startups, and I'm on the advisory board for the St. Thomas Business School as well. Glad to be here.
Thank you. I just want to let everybody know that we are recording this session, so you will be able to have a link to this recording afterwards too. Thank you.
Yes.
Stephanie.
Hi everyone, Stephanie Ledger, owner of First Rate Hospitality. We provide training and consulting services to our local hospitality industry, and also to transitioning to doing a lot of the training online and virtual.
Beautiful. We have Robin Jacobs with us. Robin, are you with us?
I am with you. I'm having lunch with you, actually. So I just want to, as chair of the chamber, I want to thank you, Omar and Arathi, for your leadership, and welcome the new members, Claudia and everyone else, for joining us today. And I love the Tech Council. You always have an interesting take on prism on life. And I love learning anything new that I can at these meetings. So thank you for your leadership.
Beautiful.
Thank you for joining us today, Robin. It's a special treat to have you here.
You know what? I looked at my for some reason, I got to speak to some tech peoples because my iPhone is off by 8 minutes. So I called you thinking I had time before. So
we will talk after.
Have to get that iPhone recalculated. Have to get that iPhone recalculated.
I think so. So looking forward to a great meeting.
Okay, well, thank you.
I think that we pretty much went through everybody. Did we miss any one of our guests?
No, I think we got everybody. Well, Mayor, why don't you introduce yourself as our co-chair?
Yes, so hi everybody and welcome. My name is Omer Basadin. I am the CEO and founder of Vision Movies, which is a video production company based in Miami. I'm also a member of the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce, and I'm very happy and glad to co-host and co-chair this Tech Council with Arathi.
Thank you, Omer. My name is Arathi Ramappa. I am an executive coach and spiritual coach. I do individual coaching and corporate coaching and business coaching. I work with entrepreneurs. And when I do corporate coaching, I do workshops and coaching programs, coaching leaders on emotional intelligence, conflict, collaboration, and productivity. But my background is I was a programmer 20 years ago and worked for Fortune 500, opening up offices globally for them and building out large financial applications. And then I had my own business, technology business consulting company for 10 years. But I always had this tugging need to help people in a more direct manner. And that's why I decided to become a coach. And I started a business coaching a couple of years ago. But I love tech and I love startup and I love business. And that's why I decided to be the co-chair of the council, because I like staying up on tech. So today we have a really great speaker. And before we get to him, Omer is going to talk about our mission.
Yes. So our mission statement is to educate about and promote the benefits of technology by keeping Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce members informed of the latest technology developments impacting their business and local community, to foster connection and communication with the tech ecosystem in Miami Beach and beyond. And just my short little note, We're really trying to bring you the latest on technology worldwide, and also trying to bring you business owners tools that you can implement and incorporate into your business, your day-to-day business, to improve your business and take advantage of whatever is out there.
Yes, thank you, Omar. The one great thing about this council is we'll be having programming not only to help your businesses. Omar is really focused on that. He wants to make sure that you are up to date on the technology that will help your businesses grow and expand. And in my perspective, we combine both of our perspectives. We're going to be bringing you also programming that's just talking about what's going on in the tech ecosystem in Miami, different conversations probably around startups and VC and investing and accelerators. And also, we eventually want to have a really good conversation about all the tech companies that are coming here to Miami, because it is the hot topic in Miami these days. So we will be having programming focused around that. And those are the two areas that we want to bring together. So today, though, we have a really important topic about SEO. And our speaker is Tim Hawks. For over 20 years, Tim has been managing the marketing and development of digital products and programs for clients such as Ford, IBM, Dove, Nestle, MetLife, Kraft, and there you go, the list goes on and on. Tim's expertise is in leading digital innovation grounded in effective and efficient marketing strategies. His creative and innovative approach to digital has been recognized by various industry awards, such as Clio's, One Show, IAB Mix Awards, Webbies, FWA, and Awards. Awards, AWWARDS. So without further ado, Tim is going to talk to us about SEO today.
Hi everyone. This is so cool. I was just thinking to myself all this, how cool this is, and what an interesting time we're living in, that we can do this. We can have this meeting, this collaboration remotely. So let me share my screen and we will dive into the topic at hand here. Let me just, all right, can everyone see that? Okay, cool. So I want to start by just kind of setting the stage on what we're talking about here. Omer and Arati and I talked the other day about SEO as a topic, but also how is it relevant, right? And how is it relevant right now with what we're seeing? So we want to talk about SEO from that perspective, both the practicals, but also like where does it fit into the world and in what we're seeing and the broader trends. And one of the things that is impossible to ignore right now, of course, is the impact of what's happening with the coronavirus, right? How is that impacting the business landscape? And in my opinion, how is that making the case for the importance of SEO? I think those two are interlinked really, and you need to look at SEO and digital across the board as a source to drive business results. So, so what is the global impact, and what was the global impact of the coronavirus beyond? I mean, the impact touched every aspect of our lives, of course. But what was the business impact? And I think the one that I saw really the most profound impact was how it moved some of these massive markets that were not quite as mature in digital business, in e-commerce and things, it sort of forced them to change and move into that, ones that were slow to adopt it. And so I want to talk about that and and look into that impact and that trend a little bit. One of the things that I always talk about is the impact it had on Latin America. LATAM countries were generally slow to adopt online shopping for a number of reasons. One is that the infrastructure was underdeveloped. The other, which is probably more important and probably affected the first, is that there was a reluctance by consumers to use electronic payments, right? And why was that? I mean, I ran an accelerator for Visa LATAM based in Miami, but focused on that region a couple of years ago. And one of the things the accelerator was about was trying to incubate internal business ideas that were trying to solve what Visa saw as their biggest problem and biggest competitor, and that's the fact that most people in Latin America preferred to use cash. They weren't adopting digital payments like other parts in the world, right? And that was because people were unbanked and underbanked, and there was a lot of fraud. And so generally people were distrustful. So they were trying to solve this problem. They saw this as their biggest competitor, right? In the blink of an eye, the pandemic changed all that, right? It was amazing. It did everything that Visa couldn't do with all their incubation of business ideas. Visa, huge player, obviously, couldn't do what the pandemic forced people to do, and necessity being the mother of innovation and invention. So, for example, in Mexico, before the pandemic, fewer than half of adults had bank accounts. Less than 5% of retail sales was happening online. That's about 1/3 of the global average. After the pandemic, millions of people online. E-commerce sales overall at a macro level grew 54% in that time. And just to put that in context, because all these regions globally, online business grew. Walmart online in the US grew 79%. In Mexico, it grew 300%. So it was far more dramatic and profound, right? In these areas that had some ground to make up. And it happened in other places too. In Brazil, for instance, grew twice as fast as the US, right? And other major economies, India, Russia, this all happened. These were all economies that, from a digital business perspective, were behind the US, Europe, Asia. And so huge disruption, sea change disruption. And then in the US, I mean, it happened in the US. US has obviously a much bigger online e-commerce pie, but it grew too. And, in the US, spending grew 30%, which doesn't seem quite as extreme, but if you put it in the context of where things were trending, it was 1 year prior to that, it was 2.5 times faster than 1 year prior to that. So that's a substantial change, and that's a big change for a mature market, really. And if you look at it in terms of real dollar value, that's a substantial change. One client of mine saw a 200% growth with their online business. So, that's it. I mean, it was profound, but it wasn't everyone's experience, of course. And I'm sure people on this call didn't experience that. A lot of people felt pain. And there were some sectors that were hurt pretty badly and did pretty poorly. And so I'm not trying to paint some kind of rosy picture, but I do think there are some universal takeaways that are pretty that will apply, and they will they'll be irreversible going forward. And what are those things? More people online is the biggest one, of course, right? Internet traffic tripled globally during that period. More businesses went online, right? This happened in healthcare, retail, finance, real estate. All these more legacy kind of industries adopted new policies, adopted new tools. Remote collaboration became something that was generally accepted across the board and legal. You could do legal. You could depose someone online. That was and have hearings online. That was something that was brand new. Omni-channel commerce. People had to solve for that. How do you curbside, for instance, versus delivery versus being able to pick up in store, and all these things that they had to innovate overnight. Online education was a big change, and telemedicine obviously is a massive change. So the main thing that we're talking about here today, the main point is the impact of and the importance of digital channels and how they became more important than ever for driving business results. And that's what I saw with every one of my clients. New clients came in with that urgency, and existing clients came in with heightened urgency, I should say. So I want to talk about that today and just sort of zero on that, but I wanted to put it in context of what happened in the world over the last, 9 months, 10 months, impacted what we're talking about today. So I want to put it in the context of SEO, and so to do that, I'll dive into SEO and some of the basics of SEO and some of the try to give you guys a basic foundation for how to think about SEO. So one thing that I wanted to kind of start with was what SEO actually is, right? What is it exactly? And one of the things that we wanted to try to do here was have some interactivity where you guys can jump in. And these are pretty basic questions, but what and Arati was going to throw a link into the chat where you can answer a quick poll. It's like a very, very quick one question poll, just like who knows what SEO stands for. We'd love to just take a poll of the people on it. Yeah. Please.
I just put a link into the chat. So if you go to that link right now, you'll be able to answer that question. And Glenn just put the answer in there. Go, and we're going to look at the results. But there's a link in there. Just click on that, and we'll look at the results later. We're going to have a couple of questions that come through.
Yeah. So we'll have some discussion after, and we can look at those. And it's an aggregate level, and there's it's anonymous if anyone feels.
It's the Menti.com. Yeah. Just so you know.
Yep. And it's So okay. So let's look at the definition of SEO. So SEO, obviously, the acronym is search engine optimization is what it stands for. But what's the definition of it? And a very verbose definition would be, the process of increasing the quality and quantity of website traffic by increasing the visibility of the website with users of search engines, right? That's a mouthful, and it's probably abstract to some. SEO, of course, also refers to all the processes and the practice that, like my firm does, that helps people improve that visibility. But let's look at something more succinct. Okay, so increasing the visibility of your site in organic search, as opposed to buying paid search listings in organic search. A lot of people probably know that much. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that much, right?
Can you just describe the difference between paid search and then organic search? What would a paid search look like for people?
Yeah. So organic search is Google ranking you based on what they think you're relevant to and what they think and how they would rank you with respect to your authority on that topic that they think you're relevant to. So it's basically like saying, you know, if we were ranking everyone on this call and we wanted, you know, everyone to say how much they knew about, you know, soccer, right? Then we put it in order of, you know, everyone that knew about soccer, and then the people that knew the most would be at the top of the list. I mean, that's a very simple way of thinking about organic search listings. Paid search is how Google makes money, and not exclusively, but an enormous revenue generator for them. And that's if you want your ad to show up every time someone types in legal services in Miami, and they're doing a search, and then you have your ad pop up there because you've paid to have your ad associated with those search terms. That's paid search. So you can pay to have that placement. You can also work within Google's framework to have it show up organically without having to pay for it. And I can jump into a little bit more on why I think you might want to do both, but the differences and why SEO is a stronger long-term strategy. And I'll jump into that in a little bit, but let's do another quick poll. Is anyone doing SEO already in any way, shape, or form, you know, to any degree? So if you guys can take a moment to answer that question, and then we'll jump into you know, unpacking SEO a little bit. All right, so what is SEO and why is it important? Okay, why it's important is that it's business growth. You know, if you take a step back, business growth comes from acquiring customers efficiently and being able to do that over and over again, coming up with a formula, a repeatable methodology for acquiring customers efficiently and doing it over and over. And that's in the most basic sense how you market a business, right? Organic search is a way to do that on both levels. It's very efficient if done properly, and so your customer acquisition costs can remain low and support higher margins, and it's something that you can do day in and day out, and can be very formulaic and consistent. You can get better and better results. Okay, so sometimes it's really hard to rank, and people, I don't know if anyone has felt that way on this. Maybe people have tried things and maybe people haven't tried things. Why is it so hard to rank sometimes? And I want to just kind of touch on that very quickly to sort of, you know, answer that question, to give some perspective on because it's a question I get all the time, right? I'm doing all these things, it's not working, right? It's a very complex set of variables that you're trying to affect, and it's in those variables are always changing. One of the most important things is what your competitors are doing. So your competitors, if they're doing SEO, and most likely a number of them are, they're doing something to affect their ranking in a positive way. And by doing that, they're doing it to the detriment of your ranking, unless you're doing something too. So your competitors are really important. Algorithms are really important. Algorithms are what it's basically the way that Google weighs all the different variables and signals that it takes about someone's web presence and puts them into a mathematical formula based on those weighting, and then spits out how you should be ranked based on what you should be ranked against and how you should be ranked within that topic area. And those things are always changing, and they're changing all the time because people are always trying to find ways to manipulate those rankings, trying to game the system. And Google needs to continue to improve their algorithms. They need to continue to improve their methodologies. Now they're employing things like machine learning and artificial intelligence to make that better and better. And why do they care so much about that? Because they make money by delivering reliable search results. If we believe that Google's going to give us good answers to what we want and steer us in the right direction, then we're going to continue to use it. If we don't, we're not, right? It's as simple as that. And they need people using it in order to, for all our collective eyeballs to be seeing the ads that people are paying to place there. So you need to always think about that, and how is Google always trying to police that system to make sure it's more reliable. And it can be influenced, of course, but you have to do it within the rules that Google, the unpublished rules that Google works within. So it's more of trying to understand the system that they're working within, because they don't tell you. Okay, so to get to that question about paid versus SEO. SEO is different than paid advertising. It's not necessarily better. It is something that needs to be complementary. If you have the right holistic strategy, what you're doing is you're doing some work around SEO. You're placing some paid ads, like paid keyword ads that I was referring to, as well as maybe ads on social media, as well as probably if you've got a really well-rounded approach to digital marketing, you're also doing some community management. You're building a following. You maybe are posting to social channels that are working for you, and then sometimes you're putting money in to boost those so that those posts get amplified and more people see them. So SEO is a piece of that whole strategy. It's not the end all be all. It's a piece of it, and it's an important part of it. But one thing that's really important to think about with respect to SEO is that if you work on SEO and you have a good strategy and you continue to improve it and you continue to work on it, what you're doing is you're building a business asset. For all intents and purposes, it's a business asset. That's not true about digital advertising, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Digital ads, you put money into the system, and with a little bit of strategy, you get returns. Better strategy, you get better returns. You take the money out of the system, the returns stop. With SEO, that's not really true. It'll take longer to start to deliver returns, but if you have a smart, consistent strategy, over time, you'll get more and more from that investment, and it will be more sustainable. And ultimately, if you needed to sell the business, or you needed the business valued in some way, you can actually, that organic foundation is something that people will pay money for. People buy businesses all the time because they've got a strong organic foundation, meaning they have a lot of organic traffic. And why is that valuable? Why is organic traffic valuable? Because it's high margin, right? You're not, every time you pay Google to place an ad, the cost of sales is increasing and your margin is going down. With SEO, the margin is going to consistently be better. So if you have a balanced strategy where you're doing some paid advertising here and you're doing some organic search, some SEO, over time, the burden on your paid ads will come down, and because your SEO will start to deliver better and better. So the result is your margins continue to improve. It's a long, SEO would be a longer term, longer time horizon strategy, but it's something that you do because over time the economics of your business will get better and better. So now let's jump into actual components of SEO, so you guys can take that out of the abstract and maybe understand what I'm talking about at a more tactical level. So what are key components of an SEO strategy. The first is really, and probably the most core, is keyword research. So what we would do is, working with a client, we would research all the different terms that people are using when they're searching for a client's product or service, right? What are the terms they're using? What's the associated volume with those terms? And which ones can we be competitive on? We also, would do that through the lens of the competitive landscape. So if I've got a competitor with very, very deep pockets and resources, and they're going after very aggressively, very mainstream terms, then I maybe want to look at a strategy that for a set of keywords that they aren't going after. And because I probably can't compete with them against mainstream terms, but I can actually generate a significant amount of traffic with ones that they're not going after. And that's where that you get into what people call long tail keyword strategy, and something that probably would take us down a rabbit hole. So I'm not going to go into that now, but that's how you look at keyword research. And then next is like technical optimization. So on-site optimization is really two things. One is technical, the other is content. In this case, technical refers to, are there things with respect to the technical aspects of my site that are helping or hindering my ability to rank? One is mobile friendliness, and that's really, really important these days. 2/3 of online traffic is coming from mobile. So Google takes that into account very seriously. Your site needs to be mobile friendly. It needs to be optimized for mobile. It also needs to be fast. It's something that Google weighs very heavily. If your site loads really slowly, they're going to penalize you. And then crawlability, what does that mean? The Google search engine has a little software program called a bot, a search bot. And what it does is it goes from website to website and web page to web page and reads the contents of the web page. And then once it's collected all that, it can organize it. So imagine it has to read it so that it can interpret it, so that it can then rank it and organize it in a way that it can then, put you in the right context in terms of whether or not you're authority in that space. The other area of on-site optimization that is super important is content. Google wants to know what topics you're an authority on. So what topics are you relevant to, and how in depth is the content on your website on those? So it's going to look at those things and assess whether or not you're an authority or what level of an authority you are. We do a lot of work with clients to improve their content for SEO. The next, so that's on-site. The next is what you would call an off-site campaign or off-site optimization. And it really touches three areas. One is backlinks, which is a really important area, and I'll jump into that. Social media is important these days. And how you rank locally, what localities you're associated with, and the service you provide, what kind of authority are you in that locality. So first, to kind of jump into backlinks, what are those? It's basically another website linking to yours in the most basic terms. And the whole search engine industry is based on that concept. It's one of the things that Larry Page wrote in his doctorate, I believe, at Stanford, which was the idea that it would be like academic citations. So if you have a lot of if you're, a doctor and you have a lot of really well-respected doctors refer to your work, then it makes your work more credible. The same idea. So if you're an authority, and if you're a lawyer and you want to show authority in a given legal space, people that are known authorities in that legal space, if they link to you, then Google sees you as more authoritative. It's based on that concept, and that's what backlinks do for you. We build campaigns to improve someone's backlink portfolio, generate more backlinks. The other is social media. These days, what search engines do is they take into account your posts, tweets, retweets, content, the people that are connected to you via social networks. The idea is that what you share and what is shared with you is an indication of your relevance and your authority, right? So if people of high authority are referring to your posts and retweeting you, then that's an indication of you being an authority. Local is obviously about local business, and that's important for a lot of people that, in these kinds of groups, it's about being in specific local directories and having sites with local content refer to you, having well-crafted business profile pages like Google My Business with reviews and good reviews, and all those things are signals that Google takes into account to put you higher or lower in organic search listings within local. And local is things like on Google Maps. Someone searches for a given provider of something, and they'll show in order the people that in that area that do that. You want to be higher in that. So what are the ways in which you can measure the effectiveness of an SEO strategy? And I'll jump into this quickly, and then we can talk about how to execute. And so the key metrics, obviously, the first would be rank and traffic. How are you ranking in search results, and is it generating traffic on a given set of search terms that you're targeting in your area? Is it driving traffic to your site? Basic question. You want to look at those things. You want to look at whether or not it's generating leads. Is that traffic a good source of leads? You might be driving a lot of traffic, but you're not generating leads, right? So the question is the strategy worthwhile, right? Traffic on its own probably isn't going to do anything to drive revenue in your business unless you're selling ads, but most people aren't. Conversion rate, and that's just the ability for how well your site, when people do get to the site, are they actually doing what you want them to do? Are they taking action that's desired by your business? So are they filling out forms, lead generating forms? Are they buying things if that's what you do? Are they reaching out? Whatever it is, that action, how often they're doing that is your conversion rate. Sales obviously is the ultimate measure of success. Are you generating revenue or not? And so that's a pretty standard one. And return on investment, the cost of the revenue that you're generating. That is directly related to what I was talking about in terms of improving your margins through SEO, a combination of SEO and paid ads, and continuing to take the burden off your paid ads by doing an SEO campaign that is getting stronger and stronger over time. And then, of course, the cost of acquiring a customer is important. So you want that to be continuing to trending in the right direction, so that the margins that you're garnering from your marketing activities are getting higher and higher, right? It's the most meaningful aspect of ROI for sure. So our approach, let me just jump into two quick slides on how this looks when we work with a client. Our approach, we start with a setup phase. It really consists of 6 core areas. So these are the things that we do to set the stage the right way. We do keyword research, what we already talked about. We do competitive analysis. We look at all the competitors, how they're ranking, what they're doing well, where there maybe have blinders and opportunities for us to capitalize. We improve content by making it deeper, more in depth, adding things, technical SEO, all those things that we talked about, improving site speed and mobile friendliness, metadata and tagging. Some of you probably know what that is. Metadata, these are metadata and tagging. Basically, it's about improving the readability in terms of search engines, the readability of your website. So making your site more readable, and then tracking, being able to track visitors properly. How do you make sure you have an idea of what people are doing on your site, what's happening, where they're dropping off if they are, and that gives you a window into how you can improve it. Once you got to first be able to track them in order to analyze it and then roll out improvements. And then once we've done all that, it's about executing a campaign. So what does an SEO campaign look like? Doing backlinking and citations. So a link building program, trying to generate more and more backlinks for a client's backlink portfolio. Conversion optimization, so tracking and optimization of the site's ability to convert on those things, those actions that we want them to convert on. Content marketing, so that's ongoing generating of content that drives interest and relevance on given topics. So it's serving both the user, giving them something of value, some content that's of value to people that are prospective clients or clients, but also giving something for the search engines to be able to assign relevance and authority to, so that'll improve your ranking. And then we do continuous improvement. We develop reports. We analyze the reports. We go through them with our clients, and we optimize from there. And so month in and month out, we'll do this. We'll review progress, and we'll then put together a plan of attack to continue to improve. I want to wrap up with a couple things that you guys can be doing, on your own. Some pro tips on some, some low hanging fruit. I think that everyone can be thinking about. One is obviously ensuring that your site is mobile friendly, right? That's so, as I said, it's so imperative. 2/3 of online traffic comes from mobile devices. If you're not mobile optimized, Google penalizes you, and you're probably losing customers. The other is to optimize your website for speed. That's something that Google will penalize you on for sure, but visitors will also penalize you. A lot of research tells us that people leave if they have to wait for more than 3 seconds for a page to load.
You know what?
So
one quick question I have there. Where can people check to see the speed of their optimization of their page?
Sure. Google offers a number of free tools, and I can share those. I'll just share some links out to the group. But yeah, there's a number of free tools that are great.
When we send the email out too, you can put those links in there, because people we need to know where to go, but to look at what our speed is. But when we send an email with a video, then you can send those links. But just like one thing that, when you're optimizing for speed, what is the things that like hold them back, like pictures loading, right? And things like that.
Yep, that's a really good, that's an excellent question. I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole too much, but yes, it's an excellent question. Images that are bigger than they need to be is a really, really big reason that sites are slow, but also things that get into more technical, like if you have too many external scripts being called on a given page, right? So for those that aren't technical, some people will know what that means, but for those that aren't technical, basically things like specific fonts are being, in order for your web page to render a given font that that you think makes your aesthetic really beautiful, quite often it has to go to another resource to grab that. And that's pretty general practice that happens. But if you do that too much for things like that, or for things like JavaScript to make fancy animations, it'll slow the page. So those are things on a more technical level that will slow down your page loading. Yeah. So, and then the third thing is to make sure that Google and other search engines can actually get through your site, right? It seems pretty obvious, but there's a lot of ways in which we unknowingly put impediments in the way of search engines and those are things like broken links, content that is not in a format that can be read by those search engines, like if it's in a PDF versus in a web page. Page speed, what we already talked about, how quickly your pages load. Google, if it takes too long, Google won't spend the time, they'll go. And you want them to crawl and index as much of your site as you can get them to, so that they can properly rank you. So that's a really important one, making sure that those your site can be navigated by those search bots. And then content is really, really important one. That's the last one that I'll wrap up with. It's making sure that your content is relevant on the topics that it needs to be relevant, that you have depth and keywords included, and have those things associated with the subjects that you want to be seen as an expert on. So that it starts with keyword research, and that's, if you start from that place, where the opportunities are, and then the next step would be to flesh out the content if it's too thin. It might be adding a blog and writing in depth about something that really well. Omer is a master of that. He does that with video production, and it really improves his authority score on this topic that he knows exceptionally well. So those are the 4 areas, to run through it quickly: mobile friendliness, speed, crawlability, and content. Those are the areas, and those are things that you guys could be doing today. So that is a wrap, as they say.
That's wonderful. Before you wrap, we'll leave some room for questions and answers. But before that,
please,
I want, first of all, just to recap shortly. Thank you, team. That was invaluable information. But first of all, just so whoever doesn't know what SEO is, basically you have a great competition out there. There are other businesses in your industry that do pretty much the same. And the challenge is to get the exposure, to be the first one that whoever is searching for a solution that you're offering is going to be you. And this is what SEO really helps you with when it comes to digital content. So when someone is searching on either Google or other search engines for a solution, you're going to be the first one to pop. And this is, I was working with Tim for over 6 months. He and his team has done amazing work, and they moved us, from 5th to 4th and 3rd page, just by different variables that people are searching for. So I know his work, and he's great. And if you have, I would just like to take that into the questions and answers. So if you have any more questions, specific questions on how you can actually shift or move your business in the day-to-day tasks that you can perform, how can that?
Sorry, I didn't mean to. We have one question, but before we get there, I just want to, what he gave was really great ideas. I just want to let you know, one thing that you were talking about, crawlability and indexing, though I go to so many sites that have broken links. They'll have a link somewhere, and that will affect your SEO. The other thing too, what you mentioned was PDFs and stuff. Right now, even on my site, I need to change. I have a lot of written content that is not on the site. It's as a picture or it's as a PDF, and I need to get that onto my webpage because I'm losing SEO there, right? And it's one of those things. And the other thing too is just when you're talking about backlinks, if you're writing for we all have the opportunity as chamber members to write articles for the Community Beach newspaper. That's a backlink to your site. So you want to use those capabilities that the chamber already offers to create those backlinks. So anyways, that's what I just wanted to say.
Yeah, that's actually a really great context. So let me just say one thing there. One of the things that we also work with clients on to get backlinks is doing that kind of guest writing. So if it's reaching out to blogs that have similar interests and saying, we're an expert in this and we'd love to write an article for your blog or for your publication. And it's generally understood that when you do that, you can also have a link back to your site. That's a great way to get a backlink. And it doesn't mean that you have to be writing it for the Washington Post. I mean, every backlink is going to help you. There are, stepping stones to getting to writing for national publications. But so writing for niche blogs is a great way to start.
Okay, so we have a question from Priscilla, and then Claudia will take your question.
Thank you, Arthur. Mike, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I began my Wingspan Academy in a ClickFunnels. Does ClickFunnels make it more difficult to have SEO?
No. I mean, I think that they are related and they need to be tactics that are working in concert. So ClickFunnels, if you're at the top of that funnel, you're driving people from paid advertising, AdWords or whatever. You can also be driving people to the top of that funnel through SEO. So you want them to be working in concert with each other. You also want any kind of landing experience that you're driving them to be optimized for SEO as well. So
okay, so I don't need to take it off. So I don't need to take it off of ClickFunnels and put it on another type of platform.
Oh, is ClickFunnels that's a provider that you're using?
Right, that's where I
It's
started.
also a general term. That's why I was hung up there. It's a general. ClickFunnels are a strategy,
right?
But you're using ClickFunnels, and that's an online platform. Is that what you're saying?
Right. That's right. And I ended up, as I grew, I ended up expanding it. So now it's a full website, but I was wondering if I need to take it off of ClickFunnels now.
Okay, that's a different answer. That's a different answer. I would recommend, if you've got a full-blown site and you're doing everything to build the authority of that domain, to put up your landing pages in that domain in the same environment.
Okay.
So take them out of ClickFunnels and replicate that experience within your own website.
Another platform.
But you can build a landing page that's dedicated to driving whatever action you're trying to drive, and it will serve the exact same purpose as what ClickFunnels is doing for you, but you can do it within your own environment.
And you could probably link back to your ClickFunnels pages, right? So if you have everything set up and then you create pages on your domain, I don't know what functionalities you're using through ClickFunnels, but then you can link to those pages that are already on ClickFunnels too. So
and by the way, what Tim does with his team is not only the SEO, but many times they look into an existing website or build a new website if needed, so they can actually incorporate all the information and all the SEO into the website already. So now you're kind of getting two birds in one stone. Yeah,
it's I imagine in ClickFunnels is like I use Unbounce, which is also like an easy way to generate landing pages, and it gives you a lot of right out of the box. Some functionality doesn't require a huge amount of technical skills to throw up a landing page. So if it's a tool like that, I don't think it's something that you have to rush to get off of. It's probably providing a lot of value so I wouldn't, but I think if you only look at it through the lens of SEO, a landing page that lives within the same exact technical environment as where the rest of your site does will benefit you. But you can't just look at any of these things only through the lens of SEO. You have to look at it through the broader perspective of your marketing goals.
I want to make sure I understand. So right now, because I started with ClickFunnels, but now it's grown into something bigger. So I was wondering if I need to go on, even if not right this second, take it off of ClickFunnels, or is it okay to leave it there?
What is your?
I can take it off.
I don't think it's. I wouldn't characterize it as problematic, but I would love to know more about like the rest of your site. Is the rest of your site in like a specific type of environment, or?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Please. How about we're going to share an email with all the information, and Priscilla, you'll be more than
I'll call you, Tim.
Directly with Tim, but
please, I'd love to talk to you more about it. Sure.
Yes, I'll give you a call.
If anyone else has any other questions that might be.
Claudia did. Claudia.
Yeah. Hi.
Thank you.
Hi. You hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tim, thank you for this presentation. And this is a topic that is so, it's forgotten. I'm mostly a direct response kind of guy. So, I usually like to control my CPA, my cost per acquisition, which means that SEO is usually a little bit too slow for me to wait for my, for my prospect to get in the way of search. But man, I also love when you get those organic leads, 1 to 2 of them a week, which you didn't pay anything for, and then you end up closing 30 to 40% of them. So it's kind of bittersweet, man. It's more like it's like you said, it's kind of a balance. My question is, being so my business is mostly hyper local, right? And so would you recommend, from an SEO perspective, to focus more on the placement on Google Places side of the equation versus more the organic general search in that respect, or does it really matter? It's not going to take you too far off the reservation. If you're going to work on one, might as well just spend a little bit of time on your own page, your keywording, and then all the other technical aspects of the SEO components.
I think in your case, it would be about focusing on local SEO.
Okay.
All things, if there are no resource constraints and we have all the resources in the world and all the time in the world, you want to be doing both. But that's never ever the case for anyone. So you have to prioritize, and I think you have to prioritize on what's going to deliver the best returns in the shortest amount of time. And in your case, it would be local SEO. I think you could focus on a strategy that is focused on delivering results at that level, and that would be showing up in and ranking within things like Google Maps and local searching. Like if you search in Google and it's a local search, you see that what they call the 3-pack on show up. That's like for anyone who's got a hyper local business, that's the holy grail. You want to be showing up in those on the terms that you are targeting. So you would focus a strategy around doing that. Showing up there when someone searches for you in Google Maps or any of these local directories. That's directly tied to your Google My Business.
Sorry. Out of time, so
okay.
Thank you.
Just want to thank everybody, Arathi, my co-chair, and Tim, our speaker, and all the participants, Robin Jacobs, who was with us today. Thank you very much. We're meeting once a month. You look out for our next Tech Council that is coming up in March. We're looking forward to it. We're really trying to get you all the information that is really needed for you to shine in this era. I'm going to send out an email with a recording of this presentation, so you can always look back at it and get all the information. And I'm going to share, team information and all the other information that was shared here today. If you have any questions, I personally love Tim and I work with him very closely, so I can highly recommend him. But feel free to reach out to him, get more information, and maybe even work with him. If nobody has anything else to say, I want to thank you all for coming here today, and we're looking forward to the next time.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Tim's
Thanks,
contact
everyone.
information.
Yeah, I can. I think that it'll be sent out, right? My
But yeah,
contact information.
If you put it in the list, right in the chat right now, so she hasn't.
I can do it right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Great.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank
And
you.
send it
Yep.
to me as
I'll
well.
do it right now.
I have it, right? You sent it to us.
Yeah. Here, I'll just put it in here.
Priscilla's gonna call you.
Yes, I will.
On it. She's
You
I'm
know,
right there.
that sounds awesome. I'm psyched to talk. So here's email and my cell phone.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Everybody.
All right.
Everybody.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.